everyone. I just finished creating this sympathy card for a friend of ours, and it's a male friend and his wife, and he just lost his mother. And so sometimes it's hard to make a card that is masculine, especially for I just wanted to share with you the techniques I used to create this card. So I've just used a piece of olive green cardstock. It was 8.5 by 11, cut in half to give the standard card size. And what I did is, in the background here, I used a stamp set. I placed this in an scroll embossing folder. Anyone will do. And I wanted to create a tag with a scrolly kind of a background. I had the two standard manila tags here, but this one was too big for the card front and this one was too small. So I created my own just out of the cereal box, and so I'm just going to cut that piece out and create a tag, this sort of medium-sized tag from that. I could have used my Big Shot tag cutter, but there wasn't a size exactly that I wanted, so I just created my own size. So I've trimmed out my tag there. You can see it right there. I'm just going to put that aside for a second. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to take this as a scrap piece of the manila tag. You could use a manila folder, but I just used a tag. And I'm going to ink out the words "thinking of you" from that same stamp set. I'm using a Close to Cocoa Stampin' Up marker. And I'm going to ink out the words "close to thinking of you." So you can just take your marker and rub it right on the stamp, just like that. Ink it all up, and the other part, and it says "thinking of you and please know that I care," but I'm not using that bottom part. So then all you have to do is huff it and then just stamp it on the manila wherever you want it to be. There. So I've got the "thinking of you" stamped, as you can see. And the next thing I'm doing, I'm going to use my spritzer tool. Looks like this. And I didn't plan on using all Stampin' Up! Products in this, but I guess I did when I think about it. So the way you attach this, you just run your marker through and make sure that the tip here is touching the felt tip there. And then you tighten it in place, really tight, and then you just take the other end and apply some pressure, and it gives those really neat paint splatters. So if you want the splatters to be more dense, you go closer, and if you want them to be not so dense, you pull away. There. So I want to go ahead, so that's what it looks like. I want to go ahead and put some of those splatters on my card front as well, in the exact same color. It's a very subtle technique. Next I took my distressing tool, this one, and I just distressed around the edges of my card here. The sides and the bottom. So what I'm going to do after that is I am going to take some black chalk ink, or sorry, it's called craft ink, and just brush along the edges where I distressed it. And I'm going to go ahead and do that across the top as well, coming in a little tiny bit at the corners. I'm also going to do the same thing with that tag that I created out of the embossed beige cardstock. And I'll do the same thing. I'll put some black around the edges of that as well. And then just on one corner of it, just going to roll it up with my fingers just a little bit. And then just put some ink just on the underside where it's rolled up there. There. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to take this label stamp, punch, I'm sorry, this one. And again, I'm using Stampin' Up, but you can use any products that you want. And I'm going to cut out that thinking of you. And if you'll notice around the bottom here, that's kind of an empty space because I wanted to raise the punch up high enough to get a thinking in it. So I'm going to take that exact same brown marker. And I just have this little tiny gel flower stamp. And I'm just going to rub it across the top here. And I'm going to just take a tiny bit off of it first and then stamp it on. So it's just a little faint, almost like a background. And it fills that spot, kind of empty spot at the bottom. There. Let's do it again on the other corner. It's very subtle, but it fills in that piece of cardstock. Now I'm going to take some black scrap cardstock and glue this on top of it like so, and then cut around the edges just to give it a small tiny little mat. So I create a little mat like that, so you can see it just makes it pop a little bit, and you can still read thinking of you. And before I adhere that down onto this tag here, like so, before I glue that down, I want to add, I've got a skeleton leaf here. Can you see that? They're so pretty. So I'm going to take a portion of this skeleton leaf, maybe half of it, because they come apart so easily. So I'll just take half of the leaf, and I'm just going to adhere it at an angle across the top of the tag like that, and then just glue it on the back sides as well. So it'll look like that. And then I'll poke a really pretty antique brad right through that, just like that. So you can end up with a tag that looks something like this. So you can see the skeleton leaf and the antique brad and the thinking of you on the scrolled background. So we're going to put that aside for a sec and take the card, our original card, and then we're going to take some ribbon and our ATG gun, and I'm using the same color ribbon as card, and add a little bit of glue right about there, and just adhere the ribbon down, run it through the inside of the card and back around again, and just cut it off and just overlap it where that piece ended. So I've attached my ribbon right here, so in the inside it's just loose there. And so all I have to do now is attach the tag that I created right across here, and I raised it up with some foam tape. Just peel the backing off the tape here, and just place it so it covers that ribbon fastener, and just the little curled up edge on the card there. And then what I did is I took the other statement on the other sentiment on that stamp that says, "Please know that I care," and I just stamped it on the remainder of that little manila tag, and I spritzed it again and edged it in black, and I'll just put it on the inside right here. And then I've got a card ready should I ever need it. I hope I don't have to, but you know, life happens and we often need sympathy cards, and so I'll have one ready to go. So there's my 2 sympathy cards. Thinking of you, please know that I care. So I hope if you have to make one of these, you give this a try. And we'll see you next time. And thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.